Good morning and happy Easter.
Good morning.
What a unique experience that we get to celebrate modern spiritualism with the Fox Sisters and the Seance, and also I get to wish you happy Easter. One tried to pay me $20 to come as an Easter bunny, but I said I'll stick with honoring our heritage. But all jokes aside, Easter is a very important time. And in fact, when you think about it, and as a spiritualist, many people have asked me, do I celebrate Christmas? Do I celebrate Easter? And things like that. And as spiritualists, we actually do celebrate Easter. And unbeknownst to some people, there are a lot of physical phenomena and physical mediumship aspects around Easter that help validate our wonderful religion, such as the prophecy of returning to the kingdom of heaven or paradise, or the levitation of the tombstone, or the direct voice of hearing Jesus speak to his disciples after the death. And we talk of resurrection. So it's very important to me to recognize, and in fact in springtime is the time when the trees and the plants come back to life. So we go through these cycles. And as a spiritualist, we need to remember that with natural law, we are part of that cycle of life. And that every time, in effect, a lot of our sacred texts talk of resurrection. And some people will even say that resurrection is really an aspect of when we go through a difficult experience, a loss, a dark night of the soul, some people call it. What is really happening is our soul and our spirit is just coming back alive, or going through that grief change, or going through the loss of that job. Whatever it be, spirit is there, and your loved ones, all your ancestors who have gone before you, and your friends and your peers who love you, they are there to support you through that process. So the religion of spiritualism is actually extremely unique. And I often say we don't have, quote, copyright on spirit, because spirit is around us in every aspect. It's in every bird that sings, and every tree, and every flower, every scent. But we have the ability through mediumship to be presented to us aspects of the continuity of life. So the most difficult thing to me is when we do lose someone, we cannot physically hold them. But what we do have is the memories, and we have that spiritual connection through our essence, through spirit. Because we are really spirit in a physical body, encased in flesh, as is often said. And as we go on our path, your loved ones are just a whisper, a prayer, or a request. And sometimes we're there making our Easter dinner, and we suddenly think of mother or grandmother, and the humorous stories that we used to tell around the table. And we think that, sometimes we think that it's simply just a memory. But what about if grandmother or mother is standing there next to you? Because that is the reality. It's just a different expression of life. So I encourage you, as you go forward in each and every day, that you realize that spirit side of life is just a different expression of life. And that life is continuous. And that we have access to the love and the guidance of all those who have gone before us. And I also remember Andrew Jackson Davis, who talked of the Lyceum and the children that he would meet on the spirit side of life. And I always remember, and I think of his definition of mediumship: inward, outward, onward, and upward. And what that means for me is that I am not separate from all around me. The spiritual and the physical we cannot separate. They are interconnected. So when I think about the inward part and the outward part, I think about, how is my life going? What is happening in my life? What is it that I have challenges with? Because often if your life is very chaotic, it naturally influences, but it's a reflection of what may be happening inside. Because as inside, so outside. And it will always happen first on the inside before it gets expressed to the outside. So when I start realizing that my life, I could change, or I feel anxious, and let's be honest, at the moment there's so much energy and chaos in so many areas of our lives in the world, that what do we hold on to? How do we get through our daily challenges? Our trials and tribulations, as my mother would say. How do we keep moving forward? Well, what we need to do, or what I feel we need to do, is recognize what is happening around, call upon Spirit and other resources in this reality, because we can't separate the two, remember. And when I do that, I have to go inside. Even back into the olden days of the Greeks in the Adelphi temple, there would be inscribed, "Know thyself." So if you do not have the courage to go inside and know thyself, and know what you can do to change your environment, and how you can be of service to self, community, and spirit, then we will withdraw from life. And I don't believe God, infinite intelligence, whichever term you wish to use, I personally don't believe that we're asked to have sufferance per se. What is happening is just our life experiences, but we can change those. We can move onward. So when we have, for example, my cat 2 years ago, I suddenly was just sensing the energy of the cat, and I got an impression he will be passing soon. And then 2 days later, he just went downhill. That came from Spirit or the cat, it matters not. What I was given by Spirit was to sort of heads up that I'm going to have a grief to get through. And we're here to be of service, and that's what's wonderful about the religion of spiritualism, is that we understand and we know in our hearts and we experience in our everyday life that life is continuous. It's just a different expression. So we keep moving onward. What do we need to change? Perhaps we change job, perhaps we change relationships, perhaps we change, well, the career and look at aspects of finances. But we move onward. But the most important thing as well for me is you don't simply move onward. You move upward. Because our goal, and what to me infinite intelligence God wishes for us, is to have a fulfilled life. To be of service to community, to be of service for ourselves. So how do I get upward? It is by knowing that we are not alone. It is by knowing that even the loved ones that we miss so much are still with us. In our hearts, in our memories. And at this time of Easter, it's the new beginning. Flowers, the change in temperature. Now, I come from Maine, so, 60 degrees is warm at this time of year. It's very warm at this time of year. But it's the time of blooming, the blossoming of ourselves. And the trees reminding us that each year is a new year. And we awaken each time. But however, in humanity, that opportunity to bloom, that opportunity of resurrection, as they call it at this time of the year, can be on any other day. Because we have those aspects in life where we go through and then we get to the other side and then we start living again. So I want to leave you with the fact that you are not alone. Infinite intelligence is here to be of service to you, to support you in whatever you choose to do. And know that it may not at times be easy. And people will say, well, it was meant to be that way. Yes, possibly. There is an aspect of a sacred contract between us and Spirit. And there's a lot of resources around us to help us teach ourselves and educate ourselves in the mechanics of Spirit. Because the mechanics of Spirit is life-changing. The mechanics of understanding that energetically we're connected with everything. And knowing that there's no separation. There's no such thing as time and space in the realm of Spirit. That's a man-made feature. And we all have the same amount of time, right? The way we measure it. Now we may not know the amount of time that we're here in the physical form, but we do get to choose what we do with our time. So I encourage you to go out and celebrate. Maybe you're having dinner after this service, or maybe grandchildren and Easter egg hunts. Okay. Enjoy the vibrancy of the time of Easter, or perhaps you come from another religion prior to spiritualism. Honor and acknowledge those experiences. I truly believe that there are teachings in all sacred texts, because we are spirit and we have no boundaries in terms of what we can do, what we can achieve, and what can come to us. So I thank all of you for being here today on this special day, and thank everybody for supporting this church and the Victorian Seance and our pioneers. And Andrew Jackson Davis would say, with his magic staff, about keeping an even mind. His guide Galen, when he gave him the magic staff to walk with, to lean on, to talk to join those difficult times. Because life is ups, downs, plateaus. But we must continue to go onward and upward. Because that's what our soul and our spirit craves. Evolution. Evolution of who we are. And then we can shine our light on all humanity. We can offer our guidance and our help and support to everyone around that we choose to. And even those that we're not sure of, we can still recognize the spirit within them and wish them well. So onward and upward for you all. Have a wonderful Easter.